Thank you for joining us today. I'm excited to introduce something that we believe is going to make a significant impact on how we manage our personal finances. We're here to talk about the Expense Tracker app, a dynamic, user friendly tool designed to simplify financial management for everyone, regardless of their financial background. Now, we all know managing finances can be challenging, and keeping track of expenses often feels like a daunting task. That's exactly why we created the Expense Tracker app. It's more than just an app, it's a companion in your financial journey, providing clarity and control right to your fingertips. Here with our team that consists of myself, Sri Bhuvan, and my teammate, Abhinav Kompella, we created an app, that's the Expense Tracker app, that has some key components and features which allows you to monitor your spending patterns much more easily, and you can see all of your expenses in the expense widget, which transforms when the reports widget transforms your financial data into insightful reports, and an add widget that allows you to add different expenses and the categories that they belong to. And finally, we also have a settings widget that allows you to completely customize the categories you're trying to work with. Towards the end of this, we'll demonstrate a demo that gives you a clear understanding of exactly how to use this app and what features actually we came up with. So with this app, tracking expenses has become a lot more easier, and it's basically streamlines the process of your financial tracking. So let's dive a little more deeper into how this expense tracker has been worked and the features that he has. Coming with the general requirements we needed for this project. First is let's talk about the input. So for the first, the input, we needed the user's expenses data, including data of the expense, the amount the user spent on it, and the category of the expense. We also needed to select parameters for reports, as well as user provided details for a new expense, including date, amount, and category. This is basically for when the user decides to add a new expense, so they can provide us with additional information like date and the amount they spent on it. For additional details, we also needed user preferences such as currency notification settings and category management. For output, we need to display the list of recorded expenses, various reports and summary data, visualizing spending patterns. This is usual to show the user what kind of habits and patterns they're performing with their expenses. And we also needed confirmation of expense entry and updates in the expense widget, as well as saved user preferences and adjusted app behavior based on what the user decided the application looked like for the timeline we followed. So we followed a five-stage timeline for this application. So the preliminary stage where we got the base of the code ready, basically skeleton, as well as figuring out the necessary dependencies and making all the pages that we needed for this application. And then we moved on to stage two, where we worked on the majority of the UI and got all the widgets and the other necessary UI elements ready. So this was the stage after the preliminary stage. So we basically focused heavily on the user interface in this stage. In the stage D was where we actually focused on getting the logic right and updating all the necessary components whenever the updates were made, and then getting the local database or local storage right so that every single time changes have been made, the changes are actually saved without getting lost. And once the stage is done, we moved on to stage four, where we worked on the remaining work from the past three stages and put in some last minute changes, basically clean up the code, and then we moved on to final stage five, where we tested the application thoroughly to make sure if there were any bugs, or if there were, then we tried to fix them so that it is ready to be used by the user. So moving on, I'll basically talk about the main features of this application. So the first one is the expense widget. So the goal of this is to provide a user a screen that displays the recorded expenses in an easy way. So each expense is listed down, and each expense also has its category mentioned, the amount spent, and the time it was recorded, along with any expenses that were made the prior day. So the daily total amount spent will be displayed above the day's overall recorded expense. So the next feature would be the user interface, the reports widget. So the reports widget is meant to display a more detailed version of the information shown in the expense widget. So the goal here is to provide a comparative analysis of how the expenses have been made throughout the week. It's making it easier for the user to see like which day was the expense higher than the other, and also with the help of bar graph and with the help of a pie chart. Here we can completely break down on which category was taking the most of its expenses, giving an insightful understanding of what could be done to actually save money, or which categories could be selected to reduce your amount being spent. And then coming to the add widget. So this widget is responsible for providing the user with the add functionality where they're prompted to add the amount, the date, the category of the expense, as well as a note if necessary to distinguish the expense from others in the same category. If the expense is a recurring expense, it can also be set to be recorded periodically for convenience of the user. And the other feature that we provided here is a settings widget where the user can see all the character categories that they have created up to that point. And also with that, they can also create new categories or delete categories that they've created. There's also an option to completely factory reset the app, making it easier for the user to start from scratch if they want to remove a lot of things at the same time. So from here on, we'll be focusing on a little bit on the technical implementation details, which will be continued by my teammate Abhinav Kompella.